for you.
Okay, so I'm into the UIndy instance whenever you guys are ready.
Okay, I'm sharing screens now for you.
All right, so who all is still on the call? Ryan and anybody else?
Jolanda's here.
Okay. Hi, Jolanda. How are you? So you may recognize this email. This is the standard UIndy admissions apply now email. We have now converted it into a template with actionable elements in Campaign Builder. And what that means is that it is now prepared so that you can have what we're calling builders, or the end users who don't necessarily need to know anything about HTML code or anything like that. Those people can come in here and very, very easily swap out images, compose different text. What else do we have for you? I think that's changing the link on that button if you want to, things like that. So this is a relatively simple template, but it is configured in such a way that anybody can really just come in here and modify it according to their instructions without really having to know too much or anything at all, in fact, about HTML code. So let me just give you an example of somebody doing that. Right now we don't have any other images that would fit into this header space where this big header image is at the top. There's no other ones that I can swap out to show you, like demonstrate to you exactly what it looks like when you do it, but I just want to open that element so that you can see. If you were to want to swap that out, you could just click this select image button and it would take you into your media folder here that was set up in the element, and then you would select a different header image and pop that right in there. Now, before I go any further, because we're right here and I can use this for demonstrational purposes, this folder that I have selected for the header image is pretty much the only folder that you guys have configured at this point. So you'll notice that the button image is in there as well, and also that the lengthy sidebar image is also here, and then all of these whimsy pick images were uploaded probably when you started working with my template development guide, because those are the ones that go into the basic whimsy template. So the point is that this folder right here is really sort of a catch-all folder at the moment. A better way to do this would be to have several folders set up and then have everything that's the size of your header image in one folder, have everything that's the size of your button, your Apply Now button, in another folder, and have everything that is the size of your sidebar image in a separate folder as well. The reason to do that would be so that when you have your builders come in here to swap out images, they don't pick an image that doesn't fit into that space. So that's just a best practices suggestion. So back to the matter at hand, the only thing that they would need to do is just select a different image, and then there would be an additional button that says use this or save or something like that. I don't want to do it right now because I don't want to mess up your template. There's also the ability to put a URL in on that header image right here in this box. And then if you wanted to constrict the width or the height of that image, for example, you could use the image attributes field to do that. If you leave this blank, it's going to default at the size that the template dictates that it needs to be.
Right. Okay.
So the next element is your body text, and I'm not going to go through every single one of these. I'm just showing you different types of things that live in here. So what this is called an HTML element, which means that the builder can come in here, click in this field, and you notice that this rich text editor toolbar pops up whenever I clicked into that field. This allows them to make various changes to this text. They could do underline, bold, italic. They can change the alignment. They can make a bulleted list or a numbered list. They can change the font color, font size, or the font itself. Now, all of these options are configurable in the element. What I mean when I say that is, if you decide down the road that you do not want them to be able to change the font, or you do not want them to be able to change the font size, you know, to preserve branding, for example, you can correct that in the element itself, in the template. Or if you decide that relatively soon, I could do that for you. So that's just some of the things to think about when you are working with templates that have elements in them, is how much control do you really want to give to your builders? How much leeway do you really want to give to your builders? So those are all things that can be adjusted in the template. Right now they have permission to do just about everything. So I'm going to cancel out of there. And the last thing I'm going to show you, because we've already looked at images and text fields, is this button, which is your Apply Now button. Currently I have it leading to this URL. Sorry, hang on just a second. Okay. Currently I have it leading to this URL, and I don't think that, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I understood from you that this would likely not change. So that's fine, but if you ever decide that you wanted to change, this is an image element, so you can actually change this to a different button if you had the folder of button-sized images that I was just talking about. So then you'd come in here, select a different button, and then you could change the URL to that new button in this URL field. Same as with the header image, the image attributes field is just for attributes that you want to add on to the image, such as height or width. Generally, you don't want to do that because it ends up making your template look funky, but there may be times when that's necessary. It just depends on the circumstances. So we did talk a little bit about folder best practices. Also, I should mention in the best practices area, this general information tab is very important for your builders because it's going to give them the information they need to know, excuse me, the details that they need to get the email finished. So for example, when Sarah fills this out for me as we work on EMAS Pro marketing emails in our internal workings here at EMAS Pro, she will put all of this info in for me so that I know exactly what the email subject line should say, exactly what the from and reply to addresses should be. The notes field, she'll generally tell me who it's supposed to go to, so she'll say all current clients or something like that. And then the export file name, this is something that has to be suffixed with .html or it's not going to work. So that's an important detail to remember when you're setting this up for your builders. You need to remember to include that file extension on there so that when they export it, it comes out as an HTML file.
And technically your builder won't be exporting it. It would be probably you exporting it.
Yes, my bad, that's correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Most of the time, if you have a relatively larger department working on these things, there's going to be sort of an admin person that does the export function, and the builders won't touch that. So that is pretty much the long and short of your template in a quickly spoken nutshell. The other things that we were going to show you guys today.
Wait, before we get into that, so you guys can go live on this right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can send emails. All you need to do is export the template, save it as a communication item in EMAS Recruitment Pro, and then use it in Campaign Pro. Is this everything that you wanted it to be?
Yeah, this is great. I think just a couple quick questions.
Yeah.
One was on that configuration. If I couldn't remember if we had set it up so that if we pull that image in the center or that runs the right hand side length down the center. If we pull that, did we set that up so that I think you said it would just run with the text or the button or whatever's there, then in that on that left hand side with the copy.
Okay, so that might be, answering that question might lead into the next conversation. Alicia, can you go ahead and disable that side image? Ooh, did we lose her?
No, I'm here. I'm making sure I understand the question. Ryan, you're asking me if we could take the image out and if the text on the left would then expand over to fill the space?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, Sarah's correct. That's going to lead to the next topic of conversation, which is section togglers.
Wait, before we go there, is there anything else, Ryan? Well, is there anything else that is something else you want to do before we go into section togglers?
No, I think the other, and this may be, we may talk about this in a second, at the top and above the header image, I think from the original coding, had pulled over the view it in your browser link from Campaign Pro, and I didn't know if that still works in or executing this through Campaign Builder or however.
Yeah.
If that still works, we've honestly started to stop using those a little bit here and there, just because we you start having more questions than we do people actually using them.
Okay.
But so I just wanted to check on that as well.
Okay.
Okay, so you're planning on using Recruitment Pro / Campaign Pro to send out the emails, yes?
Yeah, yeah. So, and I'm trying to remember, this runs up through Campaign Pro. It just pulls the template from Builder, right?
Not yet.
Oh,
No,
okay.
you actually have to export the template, save it
Right.
as a communication item.
After it's exported, I'm
Yeah.
saying, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will eventually, we hope, be able to have have the two systems talk with each other without the need for you to export eventually.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but not
Right,
just yet.
so right now when you export that code and you create a new communication in EMAS Recruitment Pro, that communication will be sent out via EMAS Campaign Builder, and so therefore all of those tags will remain the same.
Okay.
So if you got this from what you used to do, then it should be fine. One item of note, though, that I've learned while working with this system, if you send yourself a test from here, like if I click email and put my email address in there and sent myself a test, that view in browser link won't work. I don't know why that is. Probably because it's not filtering through Campaign Pro. It's just being sent straight out of Campaign Builder. So it's not recognizing that tag.
Okay.
So just be aware that if you send yourself a test, it's not going to work. But if you send it all the way through Recruitment Pro, Campaign Pro, then it will.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions before we dive into other possibilities with your remaining hours?
And we can duplicate this email multiple times over and have various templates just sitting in there off of this one, right? That's kind of the intent, I think.
Yes, you can use the duplicate button to make an exact copy of this, and then that way you will preserve this particular email as well as have another duplicated email that you can then change and modify the images and whatnot.
Okay.
You can do that as many times as you want.
Okay, great.
Okay, so your question about the sidebar image and the reason why that's tied into section togglers, I'm going to show you. Let me stop myself for just a second and make sure I'm logged in here. Okay, good. All right. I'm going to jump back and forth between your your instance and our instance here at EMAS Pro. So the section toggler is a little bit different than disabling an element, and I'm going to show you why. So keeping an eye on that banner on the right, what I'm going to do is go to right side image, which is that's the element that holds that image. I'm going to uncheck the enabled box so that it is disabled. And when I apply changes, watch what happens. Okay, so the image will disappear, but the space where it lives stays put. The way to get around that is to put what is called a section toggler around that image, which is a control that is different from just disabling the image. It actually removes the entire image cell. So it's taking this table cell out, which allows the text on the left to expand all the way across the body of the email. So section togglers are very, very handy. I'm going to show you why in just a second here. Let's see here. I think this was the one. I apologize for the load times. GTM really slows down the load times when you get into ECB for some reason.
So as this is loading, one of the fun things that we do with section togglers is we end up having one very good template with lots of different sections in it that we can either use or not. And so we end up having, right, rather than having 5 templates, right, and having to pay somebody to build 5 templates, we have one template, one very good template, and then whoever is building your emails can choose what portions to use or not. And if they're not used, no problem. Nobody sees it. Nobody's the wiser. And they're just really beautiful.
Okay, so if you look over here, actually, ignore me. Look over here first. This is sub-story 1. This is a 2-celled, basically a table row with 2 cells in it. So if I disabled this image in the way that I just did in your instance, we would still see the text here, but it would remain on the left side, and you would have that big white space on the right where the image used to live. What I'm going to do now instead of that is I'm going to toggle out the image using the toggler that we built for that image. This is sub-story 1 image toggle. So you can see that's different than the image itself. It's the actual toggle for the image, not the image itself. I'm going to click on that element, and I'm going to say nope to section visible. What that's going to do is toggle out the entire table cell. Now watch what happens. As soon as Firefox is done being slow. Okay? Now see the difference. No more white space. You've got your text that extends. Oh, what happened? I don't know what just happened. Sorry, guys. Something went wonky.
It's in the works today.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, so if that's, Ryan, if that's something that you'd like to have happen in your email, then we can add a section toggler, not just for that image on the right, but for all 5 of your elements. So if at some point you didn't want to have an image across the top, you could toggle that out.
Yeah, I think that,
right,
that is
so
probably the direction we're going to want to go on this.
Okay, so
yeah, so I'm showing the toggler on an image right now, but I also want to show you the toggler on a section. So if you can look over here back on the left for me just for a second, this sub-story 1 toggle element right here that I'm pointing to, what that's going to do is remove the entire sub-story 1 section so that those mini stories that you see down there, the triad, those will pop up right underneath the main story, and it'll be like sub-story 1 never existed. So this is where you can get really flexible with configuring templates. You know, you can remove or add entire sections so you can have the layout be just about any way you want if you have it built out well enough.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So as soon as we get done waiting, you're going to see that sub-story 1 just completely disappear, and there it goes, gone. So now it is, yeah, I think this is a Firefox issue, not an ECB. Yeah. I never use Firefox for this exact reason. Okay. Come on and scroll. I accidentally hit the save button. That's why it's doing that. It's taking forever. Sorry, guys. GTM doesn't help either.
Mm-hmm.
In any case, I was just going to show you that the sub-story 1 section now is completely gone. You will see the main story with the super awesome headline, and then the triad, the 3 mini stories directly beneath that, because I've toggled out sub-story 1. So the point of me demonstrating that for you was to kind of try to illustrate that we can put section togglers on just about anything. For example, we could put in fact, I think we do have, oh no, we don't. We could put a toggler on these nav links and have that be pop-outable, if you will. Pretty much anything can be configured with a section toggler so that, you know, like I said, you can make the template as flexible as you like. So you notice over here that the email that we're looking at is fairly small. We have a main story and 3 sub-stories. Look at all of these elements over here. That's because we have this thing built out like you would not believe. Because then Sarah is able to get in here and just pop in and pop out any section or any type of, you know, we have our sub-stories in a certain size and style, and we have our mini stories in a certain size and style. She can pop those in and out at will, depending on what she wants to put in for content. So it makes it really flexible and really easy to make tons of different layouts with just the one template. So section togglers are definitely something we could set you up with using your remaining time, if that's something that you wanted to do.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Jolanda mentioned that potentially, I mean, down the line we may want to do more than, I mean, I think just right now marketing hasn't really pushed beyond this current template format, except for newsletters that we've got sitting in a different email client that marketing uses. And so it could be, I mean, I don't want to get too complex on it, but, you know, another section, I guess it'd be one of those togglers probably to have additional images or copy.
Yes, so what would happen is we would build you a section like the one I just popped out. There could be an additional 2 sections, you know, whatever you guys think that you need. But what would happen is I would build the template with everything all the way built out, and then just have those sections be disabled by default to where you can come over here and toggle them in, but they won't necessarily appear when you first load this template, if that makes sense. So if I create an email based on that template with all that stuff in it, I still won't see it until I come over here and pop it in with the section toggler. So in that way, you know, you can start with a very simple template and then make it as complex as you want with the togglers.
Okay.
So I want to be clear on 2 things. Alicia, can you go back to their current template? So for the remaining hours, I think what I'm hearing from you, Ryan, is that it's okay for us to go in and put a section toggler, and as you scroll all the way up to the top, Alicia, so we can see all 5 of those elements. So we would put a section toggler around header image, body text 1, the call to action button, call to body text 2, the closing signature, and then the right side image, so that those could come in and out as needed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, then I think so that's number 1, to use the remaining time. Did I hear you say that you have another template that could also be copy and pasted into EMAS Campaign Builder that you would also like configured, the newsletter template?
Well, the catch is, well, no.
No. Okay. No, that's fine. I just wasn't
it's
clear.
There. I'd have to see if there's actual code to it. I don't think there is. I might be able to get that in this other system, but I don't know for sure.
Okay. And then I think this is where Alicia was going. If you wanted more sections in this template, the current one that we're looking at, so that it could become versatile to be either a newsletter or just a regular email template, that we meaning EMAS, likely Alicia would code more sections in there for you. If that's something that would be valuable to use with, after we do the section togglers, any remaining time.
Yeah, let's see what's left after the section togglers. I think I'd almost feel a little more comfortable just if there's a little extra time leaving it, and then letting this letting us test it out and see how much more we foresee using it. And
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. We do that with our trainings. We usually schedule 16 hours of training. We do 14, and then they get to play in whichever ones didn't totally sink in or didn't, right, if they need to go deeper or whatever, we use the remaining 2 hours at some point later. So we love that. That's easy to do. Okay. Then going forward here, what I would love to have happen, barring anything else, Alicia, you want to bring up, or we?
I think that's good for now if they want to focus on the togglers. I was going to talk about snippets, but I don't think, from what I understood from Ryan during our conversations, that they really have a need for snippets. The reason I say that is because snippets are static blocks of code. In other words, the builder can't modify the contents of a snippet, but what it does is allows you to slide in and out building blocks. So for example, if you wanted this to come from a different department, you could have this footer be an admissions footer specifically that you could then change out with a athletics footer that you could then change out with a registrar footer or whatever. You know, I mean, it's interchangeable blocks, but it's static, so the builder cannot change the contents. From what I've understood from our conversations, it doesn't sound like you guys have any need for snippets because you're always going to have the same footer. The only instance where you might want to swap something out like that would be a signature, but you guys are including the signature as part of a text area. So this is actually an HTML element right here, this signature. So what I'm saying is the builder can still change this It doesn't necessarily need to be a swappable block. So would you agree with that, Ryan, that you guys don't really have a need for snippets at this point?
I think that's accurate, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, then good. So from this moment forward, then Alicia will dive in and create those section togglers. I'm thinking then, rather than needing to meet again, it would be a good thing that if Alicia, once she's done, offers it to you via email, Ryan, and you and Jolanda, whoever else on the team might want to create a new email with all of the possibilities, play with it, and then maybe even send one to, to students, and then come back to us at whatever point in time and let us know if you want addition or more, or what you want to do with those additional hours, because we certainly want you to use them if you've got it, since you got them. But they could be used for anything, applied to anything else you're doing. Does that work? Sound like a next steps plan?
That's awesome.
Okay. Alicia, do you have a quick, easy? Actually, I'm going to take this. I'm going to take. Thank you very much, Alicia, for jumping in. Mm-hmm. And Ryan and Jolanda, I'm going to take controls back and show you my screen. And we're on the portal going forward. We're going to manage this. UIndy, I don't know if you've been to your custom portal, how often you get there, but we'll put the recording from today's training here. We're also going to put in here a line here called custom work, where we will put in the fact that you bought 4 hours worth of EMAS ECB configuration. We delivered, however, an hour and 45 minutes or whatever it is that Alicia ends up with, and then the hours remaining will stay here until you're ready to use them again. So if you ever, like 3 months from now, if you're like, oh, I know we've got hours, but I can't remember how many, they will be here for you to come back to and say, okay, well, those 3 hours we can use however we want, whether it's for a new template, a sort of an improved one of the one that you've got that we were working on today, or if you want to move it out of ECB altogether and put it to something else. Does that work for you guys?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, okay. And then I just want to be sure, Alicia, so I should go back in here one more time. When you go into the portal, you won't see all of this. With this training, we're going to under custom training, we're going to put the recording from today's session for both text messaging and EMAS Campaign Builder in the same place, so that you can access it whenever you need to come back to this conversation or to come back to the training. And then Alicia will send you a message when that's up and live so that you have access to that that video anytime you need it, or if you need to train your counselors on the portion that is for text messaging only, you can have them come back to that. In fact, now that I think about it, Alicia, it may be wise for us to split this this recording up to text messaging and then also Campaign Builder. Okay. They've got two different things. So then you can have it in, and they can access it 24/7 if they're on the road and they can't remember how to send a text message or how to manage a text message inbox. They'll be able to do that. Questions on that? Okay, Ryan, how about you? Are we good to go?
We're in good shape.
All right. Thank you very much for today, and certainly going longer so that we could cover both of those for you. It sounds like as soon as Alicia's done with the togglers, you're ready to go live with EMAS Campaign Builder. And so we're just going to let you run with that, and as soon as the install is done with EMAS text messaging, you're ready to go live with that as well. I'll stay as your point of contact for managing both, so if you have any trouble, any issues, it's not going as fast as you want, or you want more or different, please let me know.
All right, sounds good.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you both. Alicia, if you can stay on, that'd be great.
Okie dokie. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.